Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here, returning to you again for another uh, TV show review for Demon Slayer Season 4, Episode 2, and hopefully you will enjoy this one. This episode was about Mr. Giyu not taking part in the Hashira training, and then Tanjiro tries to convince him in this one. So I'm going to discuss what I watched for this episode and let you know my thoughts on it overall. So let's dive into this episode review. Now, basically, with what I've seen with this episode, I was very entertained with this one. Good dialogue for the episode. I mean, there were some sections where it was a tad bit hit or miss, but it still was a strong episode. No doubt about that. And the interesting points in episode 1 was, I think that was one of my favorite episodes I've seen. This one, however, is a little weaker, but it's still a strong episode. No doubt about it. Because Tanjiro tries to convince Mr. Giyu, the water style Hashira, to join the Hashira training. And he eventually convinces him in this episode of this season. So, pretty much, I was very entertained with this episode. I liked the dialogue and some of the backstory in it, and they are showing backstories, but it's what makes it interesting of the backstory, and its execution is the best part about the backstories, where it shows Giyu and Sabito knew each other, and then this Sabito Swords Demon Slayer that was killed by a demon on the mountain where final selection was. So, with what I've seen with this episode, there was a lot of interesting points. I mean, Tanjiro kind of got a little annoying, and there was slight humor in this one. There was some slight humor that was interesting, but its execution was still really good. But it depends on certain execution points in this episode. So, with what I've seen, if I were to give this episode its official score, it's going to get a 9 out of 10. It's a good episode, a really good one. It also shows Lady Tamayo at the very beginning of the episode get summoned to the Demon Slayer headquarters, where she's going to be taking a look at Nezuko in the coming episodes of her sun ability for her demon powers, basically. So there's a lot of things that are going to be happening in this season, and I think this show is coming to its end very soon. So it might be season 5 is where it ends. So I'm very excited to see how the story ends. It's either 5 or 6, it's one of those, but we're getting close to the final parts of the show and what it's going to do the rest of it. I was hoping it would continue a little farther to like season 8 or more, but all good things have to come to an end eventually. But this was an entertaining episode. I was really intrigued with the storyline and its execution, and Tanjiro was kind of being a silly goofball in this one, trying to say, I challenge you to an eating contest to Mr. Giyu, the water Hashira. So it's like, what the fuck? So he said, at first, Tanjiro said something about, are you going to pass on your water breathing techniques and all that. So pretty much, great episode. I really enjoyed the dialogue for this one. It was a little weaker than the last episode, but it still was a fairly well executed episode for what it went for. So, pretty much 9 out of 10 for this new episode for Demon Slayer, Season 4, Episode 2. It was about the Water Hashira, Mr. Giyu, and also Tanjiro trying to convince him to join the Hashira training thing to help out with that. And with that being said, Episode 3 review will happen next Sunday, so definitely stay tuned for that. I will have the House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 4 review coming out tonight sometime. But until then, you guys have a good night, and thanks for watching this episode review.